Alright, well, we've done some other stuff with VirtualBox, showed you some games, that kind of thing. Made a DOS VM, a Windows for Workgroups VM, but today we're going to come forward about 5 years, and I'm going to show you how to get Windows 98 installed in VirtualBox. Now, I actually had tried Windows 95, got it installed, but it was such a pain in the neck that I kind of gave up on it because it was kind of pointless. Now, why am I doing this? Mostly because I'm kind of interested in playing some old Windows games that don't work in Windows 7, won't even install. But I know they'll work in Windows 98. Without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to start a new VM, and it's going to be Windows 98, and we're going to call it that. And we'll say next. And what do we got? Let's give it 256 meg because that would have been a big honking machine back in the day. We'll create a new virtual hard drive. We'll use the more compatible format VMDK, make it dynamic. The drive doesn't need to be that big. Let's say 300 meg. That should be enough for a Windows 98 drive. And it's created. Now, we'll go to the settings. Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to turn off acceleration because I already know that earlier Windows operating systems seem to like to crash with general protection faults with virtualization enabled. For some reason, don't know. We'll change the boot order here. And display. And we'll enable 2D and 3D. And we'll move the cursor until it shuts up. That should be good. And what we're going to do here is take the CD-ROM and we're going to attach it to our Windows 98 drive. And that's fine. I have actually noticed a problem. Let's see if it'll do AC97. I'm also going to try changing the chipset. I'm going to actually let it use the real chipset. Shouldn't need the physical address. Enable the I/O. Change this to ICH6. Okay. Let's see if this boots. Okay. Good. And we'll start to set up the CD-ROM. It's finding my CD-ROM, so hopefully it doesn't lose it. This is a typical bus scan for CD-ROMs for Windows 98 setup. Good. Alright, it found the drives. Okay. Boot from the CD again. It probably just ran F-disk. Yep. Now it's formatting our big drive. Remember, we turned virtualization off for this. So continue. You see it's already found our mouse. Now I've set Windows is fine. I'm telling this virtual machine what my hardware actually is in hopes that it actually picks it up a little better than Windows 95 did. I had half the system components in Windows 95 not recognized, including a network adapter. Let's say custom. Why not? Hmm. That's almost funny. Okay. Oh yeah, I need a personal web server. Not. Social media. Sound schemes, sample sounds. Don't need America Online or WorldNet. Don't need CompuServe and don't need Prodigy. Most of those don't even exist anymore. Outlook Express, that's kind of amusing as well. Web TV for Windows, anyone remember that? Oh, backup. We have to load backup. Policies, NetWatcher. Okay. System monitor. System resource meter, sure. Board VR. Sometimes I use that. Say okay. That's kind of funny. That's a blast from the past. Web TV for Windows. Let's see if there's anything we missed. Okay. Oh, it picked a weird name. I'm going to call it Win98-Vert. And we're going to put me in this work group. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. And we'll pause right here. All right, we're back. Setup's done. So let's give this new VM a name. And I'll be user, and I'll be at Borg. There we go. So next, yeah, accept it, blah, blah, blah. Next. It's really always funny how they ask for the credentials after you've installed the operating system. All right. Let's see if it finds our goodies. All right, well, we've got the operating system installed, and you saw we went to a little bit of pain to do it. But we did it. Now, this is Windows 98, and it's actually 98 Second Edition, or SE. You got to ask the question, why do this one? Well, probably because it's the best, and it was the last, because I don't count Millennium, but it was the last 9X DOS-based operating system that Microsoft put out, and was the most stable and did have the longest legs until XP came along. So I did this. Instead of Windows 95, I already did Windows for Workgroups, the 3.1.1. I did DOS. But Windows 98 was the best of the bunch, in my opinion, and it needed to be represented. So that's why we're doing it. It's like, let's face it, 95 was a mess. OSR2 was even a mess, even though it had USB support. It was just, this is probably the lowest you want to go in a 9X Windows operating system. So, and even that, you can see we had some issues. Before we start this thing up and I show you what we ended up with, let me show you some settings here. I had to do some tweaks here before this thing started running right. Okay, first off, yeah, we're booting. We've got 256 mega base memory. We turned off the physical address extensions because they're never 98 is not going to know what to do with them. We turned back on the nested paging in the VTX because after it was installed, the virtualization did actually seem to help the OS. It stopped crashing and blue screening and all that. Display, we left out 128 meg 2D and 3D acceleration for what that's worth. Storage, we still have the floppy showing up here. We have a 98. Well, that's actually the hard drive that 98's running off of. We have the D drive, the CD drive that's not even passing through, but it is getting there. If we need a Windows 98 disk, that's where we're going to put it. Audio, it's enabled, not quite working, but it's there. Network, this is probably the most critical. The only way that 98 seemed to want to work with networking, even though everything looked normal within Windows 98 networking, when we had it in bridge mode, it just wouldn't talk. It couldn't get a DHCP address, nothing. Put a manual address on it, still couldn't get nothing. So I'll put it in NAT, and it seems perfectly happy. PCNet Fast 3, that's the second option for the adapter type. This one seems to be happy with this configuration. Yeah, we turn on the serial ports. USB, there's my joystick. I just did that to see what USB pass-through would be like that, and I had this crazy idea that I was going to try to do X-Wing collectors on this Virtualbox VM, but it never quite worked out. In fact, if you want to see how well it worked out on something other than Virtualbox, go see my video on X-Wing collectors that's done on, well, DOSBox. Shared folders, we don't care. Anyway, those are the settings. I'm going to go ahead and start this now. And what I've come to figure out is that VirtualBox, like most of these emulators and VMs, is emulating a S3 video adapter in Windows. Yeah, we'll go ahead and boot from the hard disk. But I had a lot of trouble with Windows 98 just in general. I had it freezing at the load screen. It looked like it was networking or display adapter. I think it really turned out to be the networking adapter. But you can see it's working now. We've got activity here, network activity. Curious if the USB will do anything. Yeah, see the USB icon? It's picking up the Logitech Wingman now. So that's good. We don't have a password for this anymore. We'll just go right in there. It tells you the networking stack's installed though. So we'll just wait for it to boot up, and there we are. There's our taskbar. Okay, we've got the install going. Let's get this VM started up here. You can see we've got everything installed and everything's working out. We can even get on the internet now. There we go. I think I showed you that you had to be in NAT mode and all that good stuff. Here, I'll pop out and show you again. Settings. They'll be grayed out because it's running, but I added a second hard disk because I kept running out of space. Memory's all the same, but network is in NAT mode. PCNet Fast 3. That's the only way that the networking is going to work. Serial ports work, USB works. It sees my USB joystick. So that's good. So it's pretty much functional. Now, one thing that helped a little bit was I found an unofficial source of Windows 98 updates since it's not supported by Microsoft anymore. Actually, I have my favorites barred here. I don't know how good it's going to show up in Internet Explorer 5.5, but it's from Softpedia. It keeps crashing. Okay. Well, anyway, look for, just Google Windows 98 update, and you're going to see unofficial service pack. And it's going to contain just about everything Windows 98 ever had for updates or that. Installs, it's safe, it's clean. I got it off Softpedia and didn't have a problem with it. My biggest problem now with this is, since Internet Explorer is the only browser I have, and it's version 5, it keeps crashing. And so I can't like download Chrome or anything. The video driver doesn't help either. I believe it's an S3. I downloaded that, but I had to have to download zip as well, and every time I try to download through the browser, it crashes. So, you know, these are little issues, and I'm not going to sit here and spend 30 minutes of a video going through that stuff and bore you to tears. You've fought with OSs before. You know what's going on. The fact that we're gotten here and that we have stuff that's functional, that we see our drives, there's the VBox editions, which, by the way, do not work in Windows 98. Well, not completely. It installs a couple things like the PCNet adapter, but for the most part, it just doesn't work. But at least this gives you somewhere to work from. I mean, you could probably spend a few days on this and get it to work perfectly if you really wanted to invest that much time, but just know that it is possible, and this is probably, again, the only version of the Windows 9X, the pre-NT kernel versions of Windows that you probably want to even mess with. I wouldn't mess with Millennium in this, and Millennium was such a mess on its own that I wouldn't even want to touch it in a virtual machine. So anyway, that's about it. Let's see, we got our little network here. And we're not going to see anything but us, mostly because there's nothing on. That would be on the external network, but I know it can get out. Yeah, that's fine. Doesn't matter. Mostly because it's on a different subnet and all that, but anyway, it's functional. That's how you do it. You saw the steps, and you even saw some of the pain. Have fun with it. I'm out.